in our learning, and maybe just in the structure of our human brains, for survival and for other reasons, we learn to exclude. And that's appropriate. That has its place. It's a great power to learn to exclude. To learn to exclude poison from medicine. To learn to exclude what is good from what is bad. But what this invitation is to invite inclusion into your experience. Not because it's better than exclusion. Not even so that it take the place of exclusion. But because we have been so trained, even maybe especially spiritually trained, to exclude, the vastness of inclusion has been overlooked. And so that even the most profound truth gets used by the mind as a way of excluding. I was speaking with a friend yesterday who's a spiritual teacher, and she's also a psychotherapist, and she says she deals with many people who have come from Advaita teachers who live in such a realm called transcendence that they exclude the human and the emotional and wonder why they're still suffering. And then they say, but who's suffering? And they return right back to the realm of the pseudo-transcendence. Because the actual transcendence includes everything, excludes nothing. And it is in that actual inclusion of everything and nothing that the unspeakable revelation of truth is recognized as who one is. So since what I say to people has been called Advaita, Vedanta, even though I don't call it that, and I have never called it that, when I have read about myself in certain publications, I have noticed that I'm classified as an Advaita Vedantist. I want you to know I'm not, although I don't exclude it. Advaita Vedanta is profound and exquisite and true. Absolutely true. In the realms of the absolute, in the realms of totality, in the realm of totality, absolutely true. But the moment one identifies oneself as an Advaitist or an Advaita Vedantist, then one is not something else. And that's not true. Then the old mental game of classifying, which relies on exclusion, comes into play. And that, of course, gives rise to what we know of in all religions as fundamentalism. Whether it's the religion of the ego, or the religion of Christ, or the religion of Buddha, or the religion of Ramana, or the religion of Muhammad, doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. It becomes a fundamentalism which excludes everything but itself as itself is defined. And that begins where you are, in the seat you are sitting in. That begins with the religion, the fundamentalism of yourself as separate from anything else. As yourself as separate from anything born, anything that dies, or that which is unborn and undying. All of it. So in our time together, the daunting task which perhaps exquisitely is doomed to failure, is to speak what cannot be spoken, has not been spoken. To speak in a language that by its nature is exclusive, what is absolutely and relatively inclusive. To include you, even the meanness of you, in the truth of the totality of the no-thingness of you. The absolute truth never ever being separate from the relative. And if for just an instant there is a release into that, then you are both yourself and everything else. You are both not yourself and beyond anything else. Then we can really use these old words, the all, the everything, the nothing, and they have the meaning that comes from direct experience rather than some abstraction of learning. The result from that cannot be charted. The look of that cannot be imagined. The feeling of that cannot be imagined, although it all is imagined, and it's imagined in the realm of exclusion. Well, it wouldn't look like that, it wouldn't feel like that, it wouldn't feel like this. It would feel more like I felt when I felt that. And that's the trap. That trap opens in a moment of the willingness to include everything and more, nothing and more and less. So in particular meetings, particular conversations arise and things are said that are particular to that meaning and yet can generate out into time so that they're relevant to someone listening to a tape or reading a book or an interview. But it's always important to recognize that if what you are reading or seeing or hearing in this moment or any other moment is taking you to the path of further exclusion, then it is not what I'm speaking about.